There will be moments in your life when you feel tired, mentally, physically, emotionally. And when that exhaustion hits, your mind starts to whisper, maybe this isn't worth it. Maybe I'm not cut out for it, or maybe it's time to stop. But I want to remind you that there's a big difference between resting and quitting. Rest is part of the process. Quitting is the end of the process. We live in a culture that worships hustle. Push harder, grind longer, sleep less, work more. But that constant pressure to go, go, go leads to burnout, not breakthroughs. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is pause. Rest doesn't make you weak, it makes you ready. There is wisdom in taking a breath and stepping back and giving yourself space to recover and refocus. Whether you're building a business, training for a goal, healing from a loss, or just trying to make it through the week, rest is necessary. It's not a sign that you're failing, it's a sign that you're human. The athletes who win championships, they don't train 24/7. Their bodies recover, they sleep, they eat well, they stretch. They rest because they understand that recovery is what allows for peak performance. But in life, people confuse fatigue with failure. They hit a wall and think it's over. Well, it's not over. You're just tired. So take a moment, breathe. Don't hang your head in defeat, because quitting is when you walk away from the dream. Resting is when you prepare to go again. There is no shame in slowing down. The only shame is in giving up on something that still matters to you. And I know what you might be thinking, but it's been so long, I haven't seen results yet, or it's not happening fast enough. Well, let me tell you, almost every worthwhile goal feels like that before the breakthrough. Every mountain looks highest right before the peak. Every person who's ever achieved something meaningful has had days when they doubted, when they stumbled, and when they needed to step away for a moment. But they didn't quit. They rested. Then they came back stronger. So ask yourself, are you actually done, or are you just tired? Because quitting is a permanent decision made in a temporary state. Rest, on the other hand, is a smart strategy. It allows you to come back with clarity, energy, and purpose. If you've lost your spark, don't panic. Doesn't mean it's over. Sometimes your light dims, not because it's gone, but because it needs time to be rekindled. So take a nap, go for a walk, journal, talk to someone, take a weekend off, unplug and reset. Do what you need to do. Then return to your vision with fresh eyes and a steady heart. You didn't come this far to walk away just because it got heavy. You're not weak for feeling overwhelmed. You're not broken because you need a break. You're human. And here's the most important part. When you come back, don't carry guilt for needing the rest. Don't waste energy beating yourself up. The comeback is always stronger when it's fueled by self-respect, not shame. You've got more in you. First, honor where you are. Look at how far you've come. You've accomplished so much. Now is not the time to walk away. Rest, recover, because the journey's not over, and neither are you. How many times have you hesitated to start something because you thought you needed to be perfect? Maybe it was a business idea, a fitness journey, or even just writing the first page of that book. I know you tell yourself, I'll start when I have it all figured out, or I just need a little bit more time to get it right. And so you wait, and you wait, and you wait. You wait because perfection is a trap. It keeps you frozen in place, and it convinces you that if you can't do something flawlessly, well, then it's not worth doing at all. But the truth is, you don't need to be perfect. You just need to do what is required. Think about a builder working on a house. If he sat there obsessing over every single measurement before laying the first brick, nothing would ever get built. The foundation wouldn't be poured, the walls wouldn't go up, the roof would just remain an idea. But what does the builder do? He starts with the basics. He follows the process, and brick by brick, he creates something real. And the same applies to you. Whether it's a new goal, a skill that you want to master, or a dream you've been pushing aside, the most important thing you can do is take the first step. Because action, not perfection, is what leads to progress. One reason we fall into the perfection trap is fear. We fear judgment, we fear failure, and we fear looking like we don't know what we're doing. But have you ever looked at someone else who was just starting out and thought, wow, they should have been perfect from the start? Of course not. You probably admire their courage for trying. So why do you hold yourself to an impossible standard? Another reason why people wait is that they think perfection equals success. But look at the most successful people in any field. They didn't wait until they were perfect to begin. They took the leap, made mistakes, and adjusted along the way. They all started somewhere, usually far from perfect, but they committed to the process, improving step by step. So how do you break free from perfection mindset and just do what is required? First, you need to redefine success. Instead of seeing success as being flawless, you need to see it as making progress. A rough draft is better than no draft. A short workout is better than no workout. A single step forward is better than standing still. Second, embrace imperfection as part of the process. You won't get everything right the first time, and that's okay. Mistakes are not proof of failure, they are proof that you are trying. And the sooner you start, the sooner you learn, the sooner you grow and improve. Third, focus on action. Just ask yourself, what is the next step I need to take? Not the next 10 steps or the whole plan, just the very next thing that needs to get done, and then do it. If you started today and did just a little bit each day, where could you be in 6 months, a year, or 5 years? But if you keep waiting for the perfect time, where will you be? The answer is right where you are now. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to show up. You just need to take action. Because once you do, you'll realize that progress, not perfection, is what matters. So whatever it is you've been putting off, whatever dream or goal you've been afraid to chase, start now. Do what is required, and the rest will follow. There will be moments that test everything inside you. There will be times when you feel like you've given everything you have and it's still not enough. Days when doubt creeps in and you wonder if you're just wasting your time. But hear this, you can't lose as long as you don't quit. Every great success story has one thing in common: perseverance. The people who make it, who reach the top, who turn their dreams into reality aren't the ones who've never failed, they're the ones who refuse to stay down. How many people give up just before the breakthrough? How many quit when the results don't come fast enough? How many let their temporary failure define them permanently? The difference between those who win and those who don't isn't talent. It isn't luck, and it's not resources. It's the decision to keep going when most people stop. And maybe you've been working on something for months, even years, and you feel like you're running in circles. Maybe you've faced rejection so many times that you're starting to believe the world is telling you to quit. Maybe you're exhausted from fighting battles no one else sees. But quitting only guarantees one thing: you never win. If you keep going, there's still a chance. If you refuse to stop, you keep the door open. And if you push forward even when it hurts, even when it feels impossible, you give yourself the opportunity to rise. And that's the difference. Successful people weren't handed their victories, they earned them. They struggled, they failed, they doubted themselves, but they never quit. The marathon runner doesn't win because the race was easy, they win because they kept running. The entrepreneur doesn't succeed because they never failed, they succeeded because they failed, learned, adapted, and kept moving. The artist doesn't create a masterpiece because inspiration never ran dry. They create because they painted when no one was looking, when the self-doubt was loud, when they thought about giving up, but didn't. You will have moments where you feel like giving up. That's normal. You will have moments where quitting seems like the logical choice. That's expected. But the ones who keep going are the ones who rewrite their story. So whatever you're facing right now, whether it's a goal that feels out of reach, a dream that seems impossible, or a battle that's wearing you down, don't quit. Take a break if you must. Step back, reassess, breathe, but then get back in the fight. Because as long as you don't quit, you haven't lost. And that means victory is still yours to claim. Your breakthrough is waiting. And when you finally reach it, you'll look back and realize every step, every struggle, every moment you wanted to quit but didn't, it was all worth it. When life takes a wrong turn, our instinct very often is to point outward. We blame circumstances, people, or even fate, like the job market isn't fair, the economy is terrible, that person betrayed me. Blame is easy. It allows us to protect our ego, to avoid discomfort, and to tell ourselves that our struggles are beyond our control. And it may be hard to hear, but blame won't fix anything. It won't move you forward. It won't rewrite your story. The only thing that can truly create change is taking responsibility for your life. Now, responsibility doesn't mean self-criticism. It doesn't mean tearing yourself down or carrying guilt for everything that goes wrong. It means owning your role in your circumstances so that you can actually do something about it. Because if you refuse to acknowledge your part in the situation, you also give up the power to change it. If your career is stuck in neutral, what are you doing to develop your skills, expand your network, or create new opportunities? If your relationships keep ending in heartbreak, what patterns are you repeating? Are you choosing the same kind of partner? Are you bringing unresolved wounds into every connection? If your health is declining, why haven't you prioritized your well-being? Are you making excuses instead of making changes? There's an old saying, when you point a finger at someone else, 3 fingers point back at you. And that's not meant to shame you. It's meant to wake you up. Because if you created the problem, then you also have the ability to create the solution. That's where the power lies. This mindset shift isn't easy. It requires humility. It requires self-awareness. And it requires the courage to look at yourself honestly, without judgment, but with a determination to improve. It's not about blaming yourself, it's about empowering yourself. You probably know people who constantly blame the world for their problems. What happens to them? They stay stuck. They wait for external forces to change, hoping for a lucky break, waiting for someone to come and fix things for them. But the people who take responsibility, they adapt, they grow, They find a way. They learn from failure instead of being defined by it. When things go wrong, it's time to reflect, adjust, and take action. Instead of complaining about the things you can't control, focus on what you can. Instead of dwelling on what's broken, look for ways to rebuild. And most importantly, be patient with yourself. Change takes time. There will be setbacks. There will be moments when it's tempting to fall back into old habits of blame and frustration. But every time you choose to take responsibility instead, you take another step forward. At the end of the day, the most powerful transformation you'll ever experience won't come from luck or external circumstances. It will come from the moment you decided to stop waiting and start owning every part of your life. Remember when you thought you weren't good enough? When doubt whispered in your ear, telling you that your goals were out of reach? Maybe it was when you missed out on an opportunity you really wanted, or when you felt like everyone else was moving ahead while you were standing still. But then something clicked. You realized that your worth wasn't defined by a single moment or a single setback. You picked yourself up, learned from the experience, and you tried again. And then what happened? You succeeded in other ways you never imagined. Remember when life felt overwhelming? When the to-do list was endless and you just wanted to give up? You had responsibilities piling up, maybe work pressures, family demands, and it felt like there just weren't enough hours in the day. But you took a deep breath, focused on one thing at a time, and suddenly things started to fall in place. You found your rhythm, started managing your time better. Before you knew it, what once seemed impossible became achievable. Remember when you felt stuck, like you were spinning your wheels but going nowhere? Maybe you were in a place that didn't inspire you, or in a situation that made you feel trapped. But then you made a decision. You decided that staying stuck wasn't an option. You started exploring new opportunities, took a risk, or made a change. It wasn't easy, but with each step, you moved closer to where you wanted to be. And now, when you look back, you see how far you've come. Remember when you struggled with your health? Whether it was trying to start a new exercise program or eating better, it felt like a mountain to climb. At first, it seemed impossible to stay consistent, and the results weren't immediate. But you stuck with it, little by little. You started feeling better, stronger, more energized. And now the healthy habits that once felt difficult are now a part of your everyday life. We all have those remember when moments. Times when the obstacles seem too big, the path too unclear. But here's the thing, those moments didn't define you. What defined you was how you chose to rise above them. The next time life throws you a challenge, remember this. You've overcome before, and you'll overcome again. A setback is just a setup for your next success. Every challenge is an opportunity to grow stronger, smarter, and more resilient. Your story is still being written, and the best chapters are ahead of you. Keep pushing, keep believing. You're always stronger than you think. I'm going to try and say this as delicately as I can. You are not your past. Let me repeat that. You are not your past. What's happened is done and gone. For any of that to exist in the present moment is a choice you are making. I'm bringing this up because I had a conversation with a friend recently that made me pause and take a step back. what occurred to me is that we sometimes see people very differently than how they see themselves. From the outside, we may see a confident, well put together individual who's overcome many obstacles. I'll call this the victor. Yet when they look in the mirror, they'll see a very different person, one with flaws and is lacking all that we see as an observer. I'll call this the victim. How you interpret your past will make you either the victim or the victor in the present. Your past does not have to define you. That's a choice that you get to make. You can choose to hold on and be the victim, or you can choose to learn and let go and be the victor. I'll give you the example of two boys raised by an alcoholic and abusive father. Both boys sharing the exact same experiences in their upbringing, then later going on to having families of their own. The one boy, now man, goes on to repeating the patterns that he learned growing up, becoming an alcoholic and abusive partner. When asked how this happened, he explains, "How could I not? Look at the way I was raised." Meanwhile, the other boy, now man, with his family, he's a loving, considerate partner who's never had a drop of alcohol. When asked how this happened, he explains, "How could I not? Look at the way I was raised." The first boy continues to see himself as a victim. He carries that identity into the present. It's infiltrated his psyche to the point that his actions and behaviors are ingrained in his identity. He's an alcoholic. He's abusive. He's still the victim of his upbringing. The other boy, now man, identifies completely different than his brother. Although he experienced the exact same upbringing, he identifies as the victor. He learned what not to do by seeing how his father behaved. He vowed never to be the same. Two boys, same experiences, different identities. We become victors when we learn from our experiences. We become victors when we accept that we did not have control over our experiences, only how we view those experiences. See, it's not the experiences that made you who you are today, but it's how you interpreted those experiences. So let me ask you, what role do you want to play in the story of your life? Because there are many chapters left to be written. Like any great novel or movie, the best plots have twists and turns, and the outcomes are rarely predictable. Your story is no different. Just when you think you know where the journey is headed, you can pick a different course. You can be the victim, but I'd suggest that audiences love the victors more. One of the toughest things we as humans have to do is we have to be able to accept delayed gratification. We have to be willing to put off instant results for future rewards. And that's not an easy thing to do. We've become so accustomed to speed. It's our internet, drive-thrus, Amazon deliveries. How dare we have to wait for things to arrive? And this conditioned expectation has made us impatient in almost all areas of our lives. We're impatient at work, with our co-workers or with customers. We're impatient in the gym because we don't see the scale move fast enough, or our body isn't transforming into the muscles. We're impatient in relationships. Why doesn't my partner understand me or isn't adapting to my needs? Impatience is everywhere. We all know the line, "Good things come to those who wait." Patience is literally an ingredient to any recipe for success, but we forget this step. If you're familiar with the law of attraction or in manifestation, One of the most important steps is trusting that the universe will deliver. It doesn't say when it's going to deliver, just that it will. I need to believe and hold on to faith that, assuming I'm doing all the other steps, that my time will come. The universe is not Amazon with next day delivery. And in fact, there's even a chance that you may not receive. After all, there are no guarantees in life. However, I know that not believing and not following the steps will guarantee that it won't arrive. But man, is this lesson hard. Day in, day out, we push and we push. It'd be nice to cross that finish line, but some days it seems like that finish line is still nowhere in sight. In pursuing any goal, it's like climbing a mountain. From the base, we see the summit, and so we start the journey. But along the way, we have obstacles that force us to move left, then right, up, then down. We're taking steps, but it doesn't look like the summit is getting closer. Then over time, we get tired. All the work we've been putting in. Frustration starts to fill my being, and my mind starts to question whether the climb is even worth it. It'd be so much easier just to turn around, walk back, and let gravity help me return to comfort. The instant gratification isn't there, so I choose to quit. But in that moment, if I'd only take the time to look around, reflect, and see just how far I've come. I may not be at the summit, but man, I'm getting closer. And if I just keep stepping, just keep putting one foot in front of the other, I can and I will reach the peak. That's what's going on in your life right now. You've been working, you've been putting in the steps, but you're questioning whether you'll hit the summit. And I'm here to say, hold on to faith. Hold on to the belief that what you're seeking will arrive. Delays are not denials. They're just a test of your will and conviction. Reaching the summit won't be easy, but attaining the view will be worth it. Inspiration can come from anywhere. For me, it's usually on my morning walks, out in the fresh air and hopefully in the sun, but given where I live at the moment in Canada, not always. I say inspiration and not motivation, because I feel that inspiration is longer lasting. Don't get me wrong, some days I need motivation as much as anyone. But I feel that motivation is the temporary fire, while inspiration is the lasting heat. Today I'm inspired to talk about change. For the longest time, one of my favorite quotes was, "Things don't change, people do." And when I was younger, I fully believed in its message, that we are responsible to grow or adapt in order to overcome any difficulties. But now, being a little older, I'm thinking that this quote is only half right. Yes, people change, and we need to change. If we want our circumstances to improve, it begins internally. It's understanding that we have the capabilities of adjusting our sails, of redirecting our focus and energies, and morphing into a better version of ourselves. That half of the quote is right. But now I also feel that things do change. Our world is constantly evolving, and if we remain still, we'll be left behind. Every difficult situation, every bad relationship, all of these things are temporary. Such is the famous line, "This too shall pass." So I'm going to change that quote, and here it is. Things do change. People must change. But hey, change is hard. It's uncomfortable. Humans don't like to be uncomfortable. We prefer to hang on to things we know or experiences that make us feel good. But what if what we're hanging on to is actually what's holding us back? I recall the story of how elephants are tamed. You see, from the time they're born in captivity,
The trainers would shackle the elephant with a chain, thereby grounding the baby elephant and limiting their ability to roam. This pattern is repeated every day. So the elephant grows up learning that this chain is a constant restraint. However, as the elephant grows and becomes much stronger, it could easily snap the chain if it wanted to. But in its mind, it doesn't have the capability. All it knows is what it's experienced. So I'll ask you now and get you to reflect. What chains are still holding you back? What past experiences are still affecting you today? Because I'll say presumptively that you are no longer the baby elephant in your story. You are the older, stronger, and wiser version that can break those chains. But in order to do that, we must first make change in our minds and believe in our strengths. Things do change. People must change.